Hello and welcome to Le Mans for the season finale of Lotus Cup Europe. This weekend's races will be supporting the 24-hour Camion, the largest truck racing event in Europe. Before we get underway, let's have a quick chat with the drivers to see what they expect of their final races in 2015 and a look at the championship standings after the last round at Zolder.
We've had some good races. The car's been very reliable. We got through a bit of a rough start at Hockenheim, but from that point on, the car's been great and my driving's slightly improved.
It's my second season in Lotus Cup Europe and it's improving all the time. We started at the back of the grid last year, but since then we've done quite a lot of work on the car. We have an excellent race engineer in Patrick Boulogny. Things have been improving all season. Our hopes for the weekend are to confirm all our work throughout the season and that the ambience stays good, as always, in Lotus Cup Europe.
So in terms of the championship there, well, John Rass comes to Le Mans clear in the points, clear of Lourenco and Zondra, but there are plenty of points on the table, particularly with double points in race 3, so the title is far from decided.
Congratulations on getting pole position and by half a second as well, which is quite a large margin. Are you feeling confident about the race?
I'm very confident for the race and thank you for the congratulations. It hadn't happened for a while. It's my first pole of the season, so I'm going to make the most of it and I'm very confident.
Congratulations on getting class pole. Must be very useful considering you're leading the championship. What are your hopes for the weekend?
Thank you. Yes, it is useful, of course. It's a good thing to be in pole position, and the main thing to do is to avoid making mistake for the race, and it should be okay.
The cars are assembling ahead of the first race of the weekend. Xavier Georges is hoping to make the most of pole position, whilst in production, John Rass is hoping to keep his perfect run of victories intact. Now let's watch the action.
So let's have a look then at the grid for this first of 3 races. It's Xavier Georges in pole position, alongside him Jeremy Lourenco, then Gregory Rass and John Walker on row 2, clear of Philippe Loup and John Packer. Benoit Roger in 12th on the 6th row, just behind Christophe Lezondre, and then it's going to be Chris Laroche who starts this first race of the weekend. As ever, John Rass right to the fore of production in 25th place, but they're a huge entry for this weekend. It is Charlotte Burridge who also takes the start of race 1, which is a rolling start as the 37 cars get ready for the off, and away we go. First of 3 times at Le Mans, and already it's a brilliant getaway from Jeremy Lourenco, who gets to the inside of Xavier Georges as they head into the Dunlop curve and then up to the Dunlop chicane. Also getting his elbows out a little bit is Gregory Rass, and he pushes his way past John Walker as the field filter through the chicane, more or less in one piece, and then go up over the crest of the hill and down into La Chapelle. This is when they turn away from the Le Mans 24-hour circuit and on to the Le Mans Bugatti circuit, which has been home to the French Motorcycle Grand Prix for several years. Also hosted Formula 1 back in 1967, albeit in what was regarded as the worst Grand Prix of the 1960s. There's a big moment then from Nicholas Walker as he had a huge slide, and also in trouble is John Packer. Somebody taking evasive action, but Packer absolutely static in the middle of the track, and I rather fear that that may be that for Packer. Not quite sure what caused it, but it's a slightly odd place to have come to halt just on the exit of La Chapelle. Meanwhile, at the front of the field, the leading quartet breaking well clear as Thierry Verhees, just running a little bit wide in the Evora as the pack all streaming through. And there is John Packer's car being somewhat sadly pushed away by the marshals. It's a real pity because Packer often flies in the 211. Now here are the 2 race leaders, the Lotus Exige V6 Capars of teammates and good friends, Jeremy Lourenco and Xavier Georges, and as has so often been the case this year, Jeremy Lourenco is leading the way. There is Lourenco as he picks his way towards the end of another lap, just into the sequence Corbomont at the end of the Le Mans Bugatti circuit, and already you can see they're getting in amongst some of the production class cars because this is one of the shorter layouts of the season. And there is John Rass, our production leader, He's got the advantage over Marcus Nikovic and Thierry Edouard, as has been frequently the case in 2015. Ras mixing it with some of the open class cars up ahead of him, and that is Matt Bartlett, who is trying to find a way past Phil Capstick, and then John Ras, who's got such good corner speed but then loses out a little bit to the open class cars on the straight. So there you see the leading trio in production. There's Nikovic, the white car, then Thierry Edouard in the black machine. The field accelerating past the mass ranks of the grandstand here at Le Mans, overlooking the legendary pits. And there is our race leader, Jeremy Lourenco, and Lourenco easing clear of Xavier Georges through the traffic, and Georges making slightly heavier weather of his attempts to cut through the production class runners. There's the battle for third place, as Gregory Ras has got Jonathan Walker just lined up behind him now. John Walker not maybe having quite the season that he would have hoped for, as Rob Woolridge goes a lap down to Xavier Georges. Georges not taking any risks, having been jumped by Lourenco off the start. He's not really been able to stay with his compatriot. Lourenco just sliding the car a little bit, building up this comfortable buffer at the front of the field, and using no more of the road than he absolutely has to before sprinting on towards the Dunlop curve. There is Xavier Georges. Where's the gap? There's Ras, who is now snaking away from John Walker. You could see there Walker just sliding a little bit out towards the bollard, the exit of the curb. And certainly in and amongst some of the production cars. That was Sven Pettersson, who has been lapped by Ras. Ras picking his way up past James Knight as well, and then under the Dunlop Bridge and down into the very challenging La Chapelle hairpin. So the road really falls away, and the drivers will be very pleased that it's dry for this weekend here at Le Mans, because in the wet weather that corner is particularly treacherous. They then head over the crest of the hill onto towards the Virage du Musée, which is the long left-hand hairpin. Lovely shot there into the cockpit of Gregory Ras. He just takes that single progressive turn on the steering wheel, letting the car do all the hard work, and then it is the short sprint towards Garage Vert, which then feeds in to the longest straight really on the Le Mans Bugatti circuit. Walker just running out a little bit wide, in fact very wide from Walker. The same from Sven Pettersson, but it's all about setting up the exit speed as the road falls away. Then they've got this long straight into fairly quick S-bend sequence, and then the complex at the end of the lap. There's a battle between James Knight and Sven Pettersson. And that is for 23rd place. Pettersson doing what he can to try and close up to James Knight. That gap is reasonably comfortable at the moment. Sweeping through the S Bleu. Blackbird's getting a fine view of the action as Philip van Pevenegger homes into view, and Philip in 25th place, trying to get up towards the tail of Sven Pettersson, but really seesawing at the wheel through the final complex. The car just momentarily looking like it was about to snap around on the Belgian, but he can see his target in front of him, accelerates through, and then the climb up into Dunlop curve, and that sadly is a retirement for Janos Santa, who pulls the side of the road, gloves off, driver out of the car. Here's our race leader, Jeremy Lourenco, who has been utterly dominant, and having got the jump on Xavier Georges early on with some supreme mastery of the traffic, she's coming round to, in some instances, for the second time. That's Rob Woolridge just ahead of him. Lourenco, he was very quick at his other home event of the year at Magny-Cours earlier in the season, and is repeating the trick once more as Yves Courreman negotiates the Garage Vert hairpin. See the gap between Lourenco and Xavier Georges. Xavier Georges, he's never really been comfortably clear of Gregory Ras, but at the same time, it's always been enough. Heading then into chicane for what's likely to be the final time for Jeremy Lorenko, and this has been one of his more comfortable victories for 2015. It's been a busy race with all the traffic that he's had to contend with. In terms of actual competition for the victory, he has been able to control it very nicely as he heads into the recourement section for the final time, negotiates the double right hand without any concern, accelerates out of the final turn, the checkered flag goes out, and Jeremy Lorenko wins the first of 3 races for Lotus Cup Europe at Le Mans this weekend. Second place going the way of Xavier Georges, and completing the podium is Gregory Rass with a little bit sideways 4th place, and John Walker with, of course, our production winner, John Rass. So look then at the final classification. So the win for Lorenko from Xavier Georges, Gregory Rass and John Walker. Philippe Luc well up in 5th place, just clear of Steve Williams. Christophe Lezondre, the top 2:11. John Rass, production winner, 19th overall, getting the better of Phil Capstick from their race-long battle. Second of the production runners was Marcus Makovic from Thierry Edouard, and James Knight did hold off Sven Pettersson and Philip van Pevenegger. Fortunately, we lost on the way Janos Santa, Nick Walker, and of course John Packer, that very early retirement. So what he hopes will be the first of 3 times this weekend, Jeremy Lorenko to the top step of the legendary Le Mans rostrum.
Congratulations, Jeremy, for winning at Le Mans.
Yeah.
Must feel great to win at such an historic circuit. How's it feel?
I'm very happy. It was a great race. I had a good start, even though I wasn't on pole. Xavier also had a good start, even though he made some mistakes. It was brilliant. It was great. It was really good. It was really cool.
Congratulations on finishing on the podium at Le Mans. How was your race?
It was difficult. I couldn't make the most of my pole position, which is a shame. But my teammate won. We were first and second, but there are 2 races tomorrow, and you haven't heard the last of me yet. I'm not going to waste my pole position in the 2nd and 3rd races. We're going to fight. I'm confident.
Congratulations on finishing on the podium. How did you find it out there today?
I lost time at the start as I was stuck behind Xavier, who made some mistakes. After that, I struggled to catch them up. We'll try to make some changes to the car tomorrow to make it better.
There's still lots more to come from Lotus Cup Europe, so please join us after the break.